All right. Hey, we are live. Making me live on here now. Live video. With Matt. Mark. Go live. All right, we're live, everybody, over here and over there, everywhere we look. Thanks for tuning in. What a day. And here we go. Just got out of the bath. Got my cucumber juice. Are you following me on Instagram? Watching our live story, my live story. Every day I'm posting videos. Just go to Instagram, /the raw food world, I think it is. All right. It's Tuesday night. It's time for the live hangout. All right, numbers are good now. Let's bring this right here. And let's start answering some questions. Raw food retreat is 4 weeks away. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I'm so excited, it's crazy. I was reading some clinical studies. And it was pretty interesting. Here's what they are. Okay, so what they did was they were testing the antioxidant power of adzuki beans and raspberries. This is one study. And the adzuki beans had a certain amount of antioxidant power, and the raspberries had another certain amount of antioxidant power. We'll say 30 and 30. And what they did was they mixed the two together to where they ate both at the same time. You would think that the antioxidant power would be 60, but because of the chemical reactions of these two raw foods, whole foods, 30 and 30, when they were put together, it was actually something like 80. So you have this amount of antioxidant power in raspberries and this much antioxidant power in adzuki beans. And then when you put them together, it equals more than all of that. Synergistic mixes. And then here's another clinical study. They were testing in this clinical study cancer killing power of grapes and onions. Now grapes had something like 30 and onions had something like 40, we'll say. I don't remember the numbers exactly. So then you would think if you were to mix them together that it would be 70. 30 plus 40 is 70 in the amount of destroying power of cancer cells. Well, what they discovered was they put grapes and onions together, and what it turned out to be was the cancer's killing ability far surpassed 70 and went beyond what their abilities were by themselves. So you have 30 and 70, but the effects are like 100 when you mix them together because of the synergistic chemical compositions between the two. So when you start mixing foods, raw foods together, you start getting amazing things. And Dr. Norman, who was a pioneer in the raw foods movement. He's no longer alive. He lived to be about 99. No other raw fooder I know has lived that long. Anyways, he was way ahead of his time. He was talking about the brain-gut axis years ago. And also, he was into these mixtures, creating chemical compositions to create the perfect combinations for the human body. And what he discovered were, say we were thinking that, okay, grapes and onions are one thing, but when you start taking vegetable juices and start taking different vegetables and mixing them together, I believe that the power of them far exceeds what they are on their own. And the benefits on the human body are profound. For example, he had many different combinations, such as carrot, beet, and cucumber. This is probably the best, most gentle liver cleanse available to the human body. When I first went on a raw food diet, I drank crazy amounts of carrot juice and carrot, beet, cucumber juice. My skin turned orange. This isn't the pigment of the carrot or anything like that. It just did it for a few months and then it went away. It was the cleansing of the liver. The coagulated bile was just so much that you can't just urine it all out. So it starts coming through the pores of the skin, but then it passes and then it goes away. But anyways, that's really good for that. Carrot celery is really good for helping with decalcification. And also for if you have like cellulite, I would say it's good for that. Actually, no, it's not good for cellulite. I got it backwards. So an excess buildup of sodium in the human body is generally the cause of like the cheesy stuff on the thighs and stuff that you have there. What that is if you were to press on that, it probably hurts. What that is it's not necessarily fat. It's like excess fluid. And it means that you have too much sodium. So you don't want to take celery juice. You have too much sodium, which is retaining the water. And then sodium and potassium kind of go against each other. So when you start to increase your potassium, you start to reduce the sodium, and then you get rid of that water retention. That could be one of the reasons. It's probably 50% of the time that's the reason why of what's going on. There are other issues too that can be causing that. So carrot, spinach is another good combination. It helps with peristalsis and constipation and things like that. Anyways, one thing that we do here at the retreats is we kind of take these combinations from our biodynamic garden, which is mineral-rich soil, not like the degraded soils that you see in first world countries. And you get recharged, cleansed, and crazy things happen. The vegetable juices are so heavily loaded with phytonutrients that it can keep a malignant thing turning into actually a tumor, a benign thing turning into a malignant tumor. It can actually prevent that from happening because of the phytonutrients in these vegetable juices. Vegetable juices are awesome, guys. So you might want to start drinking these, doing different combinations. Come to a retreat. It is the ultimate reset that you can possibly imagine. The December retreat has about 33 people. March has like 15 already. So come join us. December 31st, January 1st, the price goes up for the retreat. If you put a deposit down for any future retreat, you're locked into the current pricing. So you will probably want to put a deposit down by then if you ever plan to come to a future retreat. But also, the December retreat is going to be awesome. Okay. So here we go. Let's start reading. What's up, Heather? Nikki, greetings. Could you share with us ideas about how to be financially abundant following the laws of the universe? Well, when you start playing with Facebook is kind of acting up right now. We're just waiting for it to come back on. Ding, 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 ding. All right. Come on, come on. Anyways. Okay, while that's doing this, we're going to read Sarah's question that she wrote just a little bit ago. Sarah is the one who is an extreme raw foodist like myself, but she's kind of deciding where she wants to go with all of this. Last week, she was talking about doing a, or 2 weeks ago, she was talking about doing a baby toy. She was talking about doing fruitarian and eating very little, like no fat, like just pure fruit. So let's see what she's saying now. When I have fruit sugar, even whole fruits with their fibers, I get shaky. Last 2 weeks ago, you were just talking about eating straight fruit, anxious and depressed. Okay, that's from eating too much sugar. It happens to most people, but with me, it's a bit more intense. Why were you talking about being a fruitarian with no fat? I found now that I feel perfect on high green juices, more protein, and some fat occasionally. I also feel good on salads. Well, there you go. I wish I can have whole fruits, but I'm always very afraid. That's half the problem right there. Eat low glycemic, eat strawberries. I asked many raw vegans, and they told me I may have adrenal problems. The last type of person you want to listen to is a raw vegan. Trust me, they're crazy. I'm raw vegan, I'm crazy, all right? So you don't want to be listening to most raw vegans out there. Oh man, okay. You have adrenal problems. They didn't do any tests. They just go into their raw vegan brain of theirs and they say, oh, because you're not following our methodology of raw foodism, raw veganism, and eating fruits, you have adrenal problems. Yeah, here we go. Dude, I'm gonna throw this Facebook phone. There we go. Okay, so first off, you don't have to be afraid. Okay, that you have adrenal problems because you get the shakes when you eat too much sugar, just like everybody else who eats too much sugar gets the shakes, so you have adrenal problems. How can you have adrenal problems? How does this equal adrenal problems? Someone tell me, someone, please? Okay, I do feel like I'm still healing in my gut, even when I'm having perfect bowel movements every day. I don't use the enema anymore. My digestion is finally normal. That is awesome. Just still a bit gassy and can still be a bit tense sometimes. Gas is normal. Just want to know why I'm having problems with handling sugar. I want to be able to have more fruit over time. Okay, number one, you're freaking out. You're scared to eat sugar. Right there, that alone. If you're scared to eat something, even many scriptures state when you're scared to eat something, you don't eat it, or it's going to have adverse aspects. So you have to get over that mental aspect, number one. I know exactly what you're going through because I used to freak out about stuff like that all the time. It's what raw vegans do. Anyways, eat the lower glycemic fruits. You should have no issues with things like strawberries. Just start with that and see what happens. Raspberries, blackberries. You're going all over the place. Before you were saying you didn't want any fruit. I mean, you only wanted to eat fruit. You only feel good on fruits. Okay. I know I'm a little rough on you, Sarah, every week. Oops. Okay, so this person is asking, okay, we're gonna move on. Jonas writes, hey Matt, is there a way to heal tooth decay cavities in a vegan-friendly way? I was reading the book, How to Heal Tooth Decay by Ramian Nagel yesterday, and a lot of people seem to have very good success by following this protocol. It's all about remineralizing your teeth, but the whole book is based on a lot of animal products. The book also have vegetarian options, but no vegan options. Do you have any suggestions? At the moment, I am using dragon's blood once a day and coconut oil for oil pulling. Okay, okay, so the coconut oil for oil pulling is cool, but there was one person who, some people go bored with that and then they end up with issues. Let's see here. There was one guy who was talking about this. Okay. Okay, so there's a study published in the British Medical Journal that cavities and tooth decay could potentially be reversed with diet. A study was performed with 62 children with cavities, and they were divided into 3 different groups. Group 1 ate a standard diet plus oatmeal, rich in phytic acid. Group 2 consumed a normal diet and supplemented with vitamin D. Group 3 ate grain-free diet and took vitamin D. So it seems like vitamin D is good for this. The results found that Group 1, who had the diet high in grains, had an increase in cavities. Group 2 improved in cavities in less form. Group 3, who followed a grain-free diet with nutrient-rich foods like vegetables, fruits, meat, milk, it's a whole foods diet, and took vitamin D, saw greatest improvements. Nearly all cavities were healed. That's what I read. Okay, so the suggestion here is to eat a cooked whole foods diet, preferably grain-free. So kind of like what we talk about every week. So raw, okay, lots of salads. And then ideally, I know you're vegan, but animal products would probably be better than grains in this situation. Not like, you don't have to eat animal protein. You can eat animal products that are not ethically moral. It's not a ethically bad thing to do. For example, eggs. You're not killing any chickens here. You can eat eggs. They're healthy. What's the moral aspect beyond that? Like, why can't you eat eggs? Anyways, goat's milk products. A raw food diet with lots of salads, along with, I don't do this, but this is like the recommendation because going extreme like this, raw vegan is really hard. The next best foods that are nourishing to the human body, that have B12, have protein, amino acids, omega fatty acids, protein, all of these different things would be eggs and goat's milk products, goat's cheese and things like this. When you eat these things, it breaks down into fatty acids and amino acids, which rebuild tissue, brain, all these different aspects of our body. When you eat the grains, which are good for sustenance in moderate quantities, or baked potato, which is on a cooked whole foods diet, What that breaks down to is glucose and fiber and some vitamins and minerals, which help in all of these processes. But the main thing is the best nutrition, I personally feel, after a raw vegan diet would be going to these 2 animal products. But if you weren't wanting to do that and you wanted to be raw vegan, then you just want to do a cooked whole foods diet. Even just a raw vegan diet without doing crazy amounts of sugar might even do it. But these animal products that I personally don't eat are very nourishing, because most people can't. It took me 17 years to balance out on a raw food diet, to manipulate the system, to transform it into being able to handle what I do. This is not like a overnight thing. Most of these raw vegan pioneers out there, they're not raw. It's like changing the metabolic structure of your entire thing here. Anyways, so for a person to do that type of thing, it's seriously like going on a life's mission, like I did. It was a life's mission. It went beyond all of this. The spiritual aspects are insane. We are proud of you. Thank you, Chrissy. Your family, your friends, the social aspects, the mental aspects, the cravings, the digestion. So Sarah, who was talking earlier, you're just beginning on this path. Yes, you're venomous and did crazy amounts of cleansing, but you've been doing this for only like 4 to 6 months. And look at her, she's like freaking out about everything. She's scared to eat fruit. That's how I was for many years. You don't need to do this. And longevity goes beyond food. It's like way beyond food. It's like almost food is secondary to like other aspects of longevity. All right. We got lots of people here tonight. Okay, here we go. Jonas writes, hey, Matt. Oh, we already did that. So to heal tooth decay is pretty much the thing about doing, thanks, Anne. Anne's coming to the raw food retreat, everybody. And the dragon's blood is good, Jonas, for the gums and the teeth and stuff like that, to swirl and then spit out. But the main thing is diet is what these studies are saying in terms of reversing tooth decay. Okay, hello everyone, says Laura. Matt, I have to say that I am loving Nadine's mouthwash. That's cool. We actually have that at cost also right now. And just so everybody knows, everybody, first off, we're upgrading our website. It is going to be off the hook. There will never be a back order ever again. We're upgrading the inventory system. I know there's been glitches over the last week because we're rolling out upgrades every single day to get this ready within the first week of December. So we are going to be like a serious, most of the other raw food companies out there, they don't ship their own products. They go to like major fulfillment centers and do these other things. Facebook is trying to reconnect again. So what we have, it's going to reconnect any second. What we have is our own fulfillment center, for those of you watching on here. We have our own fulfillment center. And So we have to like, we're working from this from ground up, from ground one, just bringing this up. And within 2 weeks, all of this is being taken to a new level. And we're really excited about it. So if anybody had any issues with the website, I apologize about that. And once Facebook comes back on here, I'll discuss more about that. Rick writes, hey Matt, just saying hello on your Hangout. What's up, Rick? So Sarah's asking me, are oranges low glycemic? Oranges are not low glycemic. It's generally best, okay, so oranges are not low glycemic, but if you're gonna eat an orange, if you're gonna, sorry guys on Facebook, it's going in and out. I don't know why it's doing that. Oranges aren't low glycemic, but if you're gonna have an orange, it might be good just to have the whole orange. Buying orange juice from the grocery store is generally a joke. Generally what happens is, first off, when you buy orange juice, they pasteurize it, takes away most of the vitamin C, lowers the nutrition content. Generally, they add synthetic vitamin C back to it. Furthermore, the flavoring's taken away, so they'll even add extra flavoring. So when you're drinking if you're making your own orange juices, that's one thing, but if you're buying it from the market, that's like a whole nother thing. But anyways, you can just eat oranges. If you want to eat an orange, Sarah, you'll be all right. Okay, so anyways, on our website, sorry for Facebook, you guys are, if you want to not, for some reason, if you go to news.therawfoodworld.com/live, this is that out. That's not falling apart right now. Okay, so anyways, okay, so our website is being revamped. The new system is going to be awesome. The glitches are fixed right now. We are still going to be doing upgrades, but we're doing it in a way to where we're hoping there won't be any more glitches through this process. But anyways, right now, as we're speaking, December's at-cost specials are being put on the board. Right now, Reishi Spore products are at cost also, and we actually have Reishi Spore tritryptophan crystals in caps now in 3 different sizes. And all the Reishi Spore products are at cost. We talk about these all the time. And the December at cost specials are being put up right now. By the time this Hangout is over, all of the December at cost specials are gonna be up. It is the best selection and the biggest selection of at cost specials for the entire year. We do this every December. We've got the B12 and D3 patches that are going on, the Reishi Spore products, hemp seeds, chia seeds, whole cashews, cashew pieces, a brand new fresh crop, just harvested, of organic Turkish figs. It seems like yesterday I just announced we did organic Turkish figs, but I looked back at when I said that and it was actually a year ago. So these are a fresh crop of Turkish figs. These are about to be live also. Everything's going on the at cost list within the next hour. So exciting. So you'll be able to get the Reishi Spore products November and December at cost specials all at the same time, starting from here until the end of the month. Okay. Have you heard anything about if one is eating eggs that they should be hard-boiled? Thoughts? No? I haven't heard that that's necessary. My daughter eats a 100% raw vegan diet with eggs. Raw vegan diet with eggs, vegan. Anyways, but she usually just eats the yolk. Sometimes she has some of the white also. We make her an omelet. Okay. Do you have any suggestion for anxiety? I mainly have issues at night with not being able to shut my thoughts down. I'm only getting a few hours of sleep since my doctor took me off prescription anxiety medication. Well, that's good because the anxiety medication has all these side effects, and you're probably going through a withdrawal period for that. And then also what happens is when you're on these drugs, it messes with your gut microbiome. And it's actually the gut microbiome that produces certain chemicals such as acetylcholine, tryptophan, which turns into serotonin, and different things that actually, there's this gut-brain axis thing. And when you have these beneficial bacteria, it can produce these chemicals that actually help combat anxiety and depression. But I've got more for you in a second. Also, I'm in a part of Oregon that rains a lot, and this time of the year, depression kicks in. Any suggestions? Thanks. Okay, so that is a very common concept that many people talk about, that in Washington and Oregon, that the rain comes down and then people get depressed and stuff like this. It's kind of like our astrological signs. I'm an Aquarius, supposedly. Now, I feel that a person should transcend their sign, their Aquarius or whatever zodiac sign you have, transcend it and not be bound to it. So then it's just like no longer part of you. So it's the same with this. Because it's this built-in concept, it's kind of like you just fall into it. Oh, okay, this is accepted. I could be depressed and anxiety because of the rain, because of the clouds and stuff like this. I could live there and have no issue whatsoever. And many other people do also. So it's kind of like, don't fall into those traps. And secondly, some things that you can take for depression and anxiety. First off, eating a high raw diet with lots of salads, which feeds the beneficial bacteria, which can produce these beneficial chemicals that will help with depression and stuff like that. Other things that you can do, probably the best food that you can take is kefir. This is really good. It actually has tryptophan in it, which can be turned into serotonin and stuff like this. Plus, it's really good at getting rid of the bad bacteria, even deep in the mucosal membranes and stuff like that, and providing beneficial bacteria. Also, omega fatty acids have been shown to help with anxiety and depression. Exercise is really good for raising BDNF, which increases the hippocampus center, and lower BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factors, are linked to depression and anxiety when they're lowered, and dementia. So things that you can do is, first off, exercise raises BDNF, which can help with anxiety and depression. So maybe taking a run 3 days a week, a walk every day. Other things you can do is intermittent fasting. Don't snack in between meals. Lower your sugar intake. That causes inflammation and messes with the gut lining and beneficial bacteria. Other things about depression. Also, like fighting against it. What is depression? It's just a feeling, a vibration. It's like you've got to combat that and not surrender to it. It's kind of like when a person is angry and there's children around and stuff like this, you can focus and watch the anger dissipate, and it disappears, and then it's gone. You just did the work to not take the toilet paper and throw it across the room into the window. You focused and did that. So the same concept, all that anger is just like a feeling of like, "Argh!" Now the depression and anxiety is another feeling. It's the same thing, but just a different vibration. It's not, "Argh!" It's just kind of like, woe is me, hopelessness, all these other things. Doing that same aspect of, as you get rid of the anger, you can do the same thing of focusing and kind of letting that dissipate also. So you got to fight it, if that makes sense. So that was like a whole entire bouquet of what to do against depression and anxiety. But we don't want to be going on the antidepressants. First off, antidepressants, there were clinical studies done where they took 14 antidepressants and against placebos to see if they really worked. 13 out of 14 of them didn't work, and the one that did work had high rates of mortality, like suicide, homicidal stuff, and things like this. They're just no good. They don't do anything really. They kind of like mess with your microbiome. They make you a little bit more unconscious and things like this. You might get high. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you might as well do medical marijuana. Like, less side effects. I mean, I don't recommend it, but it's, if you're something, like, you might as well do one lesser of the two evils. But the best way is to do this the way we talked about. Nutrition by eliminating processed foods. That alone works wonders. And then we were talking about taking DHA, EPA, taking kefir. That's really good. Eating lots of plant foods to support the gut microbiome and stuff like that. Do you have any other, maybe you have other health issues that are linked to this, and it sounds like you're only getting 4 hours of sleep. How long have you been doing that? A lot of the time, many people are stressed out all the time. They go to work, they only get 4 hours of sleep. They're taking coffee, which spikes your insulin, too much caffeine. But anyways, you're drinking coffee, you're totally burning yourself out. You're like flying high on coffee, and then you crash and burn, and then you don't go to bed, and then you get 4 hours sleep. You're thinking a million miles per hour, and you think you're depressed, but when you really just need sleep. Sleep is critical for anxiety and depression. Like, you should go on a sleeping spree. You say you can't sleep at night. Well, we got to make life changes. We got to force ourselves to sleep. We got to go to bed like at 6 p.m. if we have to, just to get started into this flow. Whatever you do, or just whatever you got to do. Okay. Okay, so Amy is saying, you mentioned kefir. Is this the dairy base that you are recommending? The kefir that all these people are talking about for gut microbiome, I believe I'm not really 100% sure how they make it and stuff like that. This isn't coconut water kefir. This is pretty much the kefir, so I do believe it might be dairy based. But it is probably the best thing for the gut and fighting candida and stuff like that. Is it dairy based? I'm not even 100% sure. I'll have to look into that. Texas is in the house, writes Sharon. Jenny writes, been on medication for 20 days. Just got to get over the detox. Thank you, haha. That's me, yes, 3 or 4 coffees a day. Oh, good. Okay. All right, Jenny, so I hope that helps. It seems like you can make some changes there. When you go off of coffee, it's going to be insane. So you might want to just wean off of it. Just like a little bit in the morning is what we want to be doing if you can. Just a little bit in the morning. Every day. I really appreciate your advice. We'll focus on doing what you said. Been watching you for years. Thank you. Awesome, Jenny. Okay, here we go. Ali writes, hi, the guy about tooth healing question. I recommend cinnamon, clove oil, frankincense, and myrrh, and charcoal-based toothpaste. Matt, do you have a charcoal toothpaste? We do, actually. Let me see if it's still there. We might need to order it, but it probably is there. I think it's called Tooth Brights. Tooth. Yeah, peppermint tooth brights with activated charcoal. That's a good product, actually. Okay. Angeline J writes, hi Matt, when I received my last order and the packing list dated 10/30 said the 3 boxes, King T Essentials are out of stock, handwritten. I did not receive a refund and have never received them. I'd rather have the product the refund. Are they still okay in stock? You just got to write customer service. They're in stock. I don't know why they sent them without it out, sent the order without that, because it was coming in like in a day or so, and I said to hold those orders, which I actually stated on the Hangout. I apologize about that. Generally, we're really good with this type of thing. I'm not sure what happened. Okay. I would write customer service, Angeline J, because I don't have your full name here or order number, so just deal with customer service. That would probably be the best. But I alerted them right now. Okay. So here we go. Eating raw eggs. Oh, Araya doesn't eat raw eggs. We cook the eggs for her. Can cause biotin deficiency. Avidin, a structural protein in raw egg yolks, bind biotin. So if you are consuming large quantities of raw egg yolks, make sure they are boiled or somehow heated to destroy avidin, plus increase food riches. I don't know anything about that. Okay. It was a very large order. Well, I really appreciate that. Okay. Do you have anything about do you know anything about a fruit called bitter gourd? Another name for it is Corella. I think they are famous in Okinawa. They're very cheap where I live. I get to have as much as I want. It looks like a cucumber, but it has a much tougher, spiky, okay, it's really bitter. So bitter you can vomit. I juice it every day and drink a cup. I read that you shouldn't drink more than a cup because it's extremely powerful. I personally noticed I felt so good. Noticed hair, skin, and nails growing so fast. Also very soothing. You feel calm instantly after drinking it. It's like a natural antidepressant and aphrodisiac. Also beautifies you so fast within days. You don't have to drink much, but I'm wondering if it's a bad thing to drink more. I don't know, I've never heard of it, but it sounds good. I would try it. I've been drinking turmeric also in vegetable juice. This morning I drank turmeric in my vegetable juice, a good quantity. Felt so good. That actually raises BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So try turmeric. You could also get our turmeric extract. Yeah. Okay. Anne writes, why should systemic enzymes not be dissolved on the tongue? Okay, well, when you take enzymes, generally if you were to go to Whole Foods and put some enzymes on your tongue, half of it's probably maltodextrin and other fillers, which you don't want to be taking. But you might feel something. But if you were to take our systemic enzymes, which are extremely potent and powerful, they'll start to it will burn your tongue. So what I recommend is people put it in a shot glass of water and then just drink it straight on an empty stomach. Because when you take enzymes, systemic enzymes on an empty stomach, they go into the metabolic processes of the body to create positive chemical reactions to make our bodies function better and stuff like that. So you don't want to be like using it on your tongue and stuff like that. Melissa says, hi all, I'm learning so much, thank you. Awesome. Okay guys, so we need more questions. That's weird. Today we have like so many people, but not as many questions. You can ask them on Facebook, or you can go to news.therawfoodworld.com/live. Okay, so Lynette writes, love turmeric, ginger, lemon in my vegetable juices. It's so powerful. Yeah, that is powerful. Okay, so while we're waiting for some questions here, let's think. I can maybe share some things with you. Crystal saying it's Thanksgiving week. Okay, now what? Okay, we got a question here. Hello, Mr. Monarch from Harrisburg, Ontario, Canada. Looks dark and quiet there tonight. It's because people were complaining about the light bulb that was going on and off. So how do I take this ashwagandha? Can you give me some examples? Where's my ashwagandha? That will give me a little boost. Ooh, and the B12 patches. Okay, so what we have here are B12 patches. I need to put one on. It's been a while. I think this is my D3 patch. Anyways, B12 patches. First off, these are the most powerful. They're at cost in just minutes right now. They're the most powerful B12 patches out there. Most people actually feel it. There was one woman who had an issue with who had a mutation who couldn't methylate B12 properly. She was like in bed. Her sister gave her one of these and she was flying. Anyways, when you get animal protein, okay, first off, there's a lot of people deficient in B12, whether you're vegan or not vegan. There's the same amount of ratio of people who are deficient. One issue is there's an intrinsic factor to when you are eating animal protein that has B12. If your stomach isn't acid enough, then you're not going to be able to unlock the B12 from the protein. That's what the intrinsic factor is. And same with some B12 supplements. If you don't chew them, and some B12 tablets, you can run into the same issue if you don't have an acid stomach. And a lot of people have issues with having an acid stomach. This is one reason why a lot of people have like bad digestion. They get bloating and things like this, because when your acid is not, when your stomach, okay, everyone's on this alkaline kick. They're drinking alkaline water. When you stress, you lose acid and you become more alkaline. And most people are stressing. And one of the byproducts of creating cortisol when you stress is losing acid. Dude, I'm gonna kill Facebook. Okay. Is you lose acid. So we have alkaline bodies, a lot of us, and our stomach isn't acid enough in many cases. Furthermore, when you're 20 versus when you're 75, you have about 25% of the stomach acid that you used to have. So anyways, if your stomach is not between pH of 1 and 3, many things start to happen. First, number one is you don't activate enzymes, which helps digest protein. And if these enzymes aren't activated, you're gonna have indigestion and issues like this. Furthermore, you'll have an issue absorbing minerals if you don't have an acid stomach. And also you'll have an issue with this whole entire B12 aspect if you're trying to get it from animal products. Also some supplements that you take orally, if you're not acid enough, you might have issues. So what the B12 patches, not only these extremely powerful, you put them on and it just goes right into your bloodstream in a high dose over time. So you kind of like beat the intrinsic factor through passive diffusion. It just goes straight in, goes straight into the bloodstream. Anyways, I was trying to show you something else, ashwagandha. I'm the type of guy who just likes to go like this. take the ashwagandha. Ashwagandha in clinical studies has been shown, oh, duh, to help with anxiety and depression. And in a clinical study, it showed lower levels of cortisol, serum cortisol. It lowered cortisol in clinical studies in humans. So I'll just go like this and straight out eat it. Bitter. These are, all of our Ayurvedic herbs are the most potent herbs available on the planet. We have access to a machine that's 2 stories high that is identical to the ones that the pharmaceutical companies use. I just got this big boof from taking this. This actually enhances physical performance also. In clinical studies, people were able to sprint further. But this is like pharmaceutical strength, all of our Ayurvedic herbs. There's nothing like this in the health foods movement. All right. Or you can just take a shot glass, or you put in a smoothie or a shot glass, or just do what I did and drink afterwards. I should break out some more herbs. Let's get high. Just kidding. Okay. What's up, Raymond? Okay, so here we go. Let's read. Taking your raw fruit, okay. Anna's taking the shatavari, ashwagandha, bacopa, and mukunya. Can they be taken all together? Also, how much Ayurvedic principles will you cover at the retreat? I don't go too much into Ayurvedic stuff at the retreat. Number one, there's a big disconnect between the two. And I'm not necessarily a big fan of like their whole entire belief system and structure. So not much, but all of these different herbs do different things and are beneficial. You can take all at once, but it might be good to just take certain ones different days or different times of the days. Bacopa and mukunya together are really good. It's really good for the third eye, opening of the third eye. But we might talk about actual herbs, but not Ayurvedic principles. That's what I thought you said before in a talk. I'll buy some of that on your website. Okay. Lynette writes, Matt, can you recommend, and then I'm going to come back to the news.therawfoodworld.com/live. Matt, can you recommend something for hot flashes associated with menopause onset? I have some gelatinized maca, but I don't like the taste. I don't mix smoothies often, so that's not a good option. Well, what you can do is take a shot glass of an ounce, put the maca in, and just drink it real quick. Or you can make awesome foods out of it. Like you could take mesquite that sweetens it up, maybe carrot powder to make it taste chocolatey, some nut butter, throw a bit of maca in there and just like swirl it around and then just eat it, and some stevia, and you're just gonna be like, oh, that's so good. That's just like an amazing thing. But also, we have a product called a guaje, which is high in phytohormones. And what the maca does is it provides nutrients necessary for supporting that aspect. What the aguaje does is it's AGUAJE. It's on our website. That actually gives the hormones. It kind of like helps the estrogen aspect. If you're too low in estrogen, it'll just help balance it. If you're too high, it will help balance it. Other issues you might want to look at is lowering estrogen intake from outside environmental factors, such as from dirty animal protein, with antibiotics, or cow's milk that you just get from the store and not directly from the farm. Things like this, using a microwave. These all have, or eating lots of pesticides that mimics estrogen. So a lot of things we might want to just be simply eliminating that. Also, stress is a big thing in regards to all of this. What happens is when you go into menopause, you stop using your ovaries for certain aspects. And so then your adrenals, which are responsible for stress hormone and things like this, pick up the slack. And then you kind of become, if you're already in a stress state going into menopause, then you start running into issues. So what we can do physically is, number one, is to get our diet down, eating cooked whole, a high raw cooked whole foods diet. That's like the best we can do to help balance everything out. So other things we can do is work on that stress aspect that we've been talking about, because that kind of messes with everything too. So lower estrogen intake through bad pesticides and bad dairy and bad animal products and other BPA, things like this. Eat a cooked whole foods diet, and then work on the stress, because your adrenals are now working more for you because you're not utilizing, they're picking up the slack of what the ovaries used to do. All right. Is maca just for men? No, it's more for women. I mean, it's for men and women, but I always make sure my woman has maca around. Oh man. Okay. Great ideas on it. I just got my results back from 23andMe genome testing. I've heard people structuring their diets and supplements based off their genome test results to prevent cancers and diseases they're genetically susceptible to. Ever hear about this? Yes, this is something I personally would stand 100% clear away from. Okay, so when you start to do something like this, you start going into the naturopathic doctor realm, which is okay. There's a lot of good naturopathic doctors, but then there's some out there that we talk about that are just nutso. For example, one naturopathic doctor told one of our readers or listeners that her heart was half dead. It was like her left side of her heart was just gone. I'm like, okay, how did this naturopathic doctor determine this? Did you take any tests, anything like this? And she said, yes, he muscle tested me. So he was able to determine through a muscle test of moving her arm up and down, calm down, Matt, that her heart was half dead. Okay, fine. If you want to play this game, okay, you're sensitive to certain foods because you can't move your arm up and down as well as when you have this food in your hand. I'll accept that game for your own sake, whatever, fine, play that. But when you start telling people that their hearts are half dead based off of moving a person's arm up and down, guess what? Now you're pissing me off. Anyways, back to this whole entire genetically testing. So this is, okay, first off, what happens is many people get these gene tests to see like what kind of issues they might have, but this is, it's almost like going to get a blood test. If all of us were to go get a blood test right now, you would get your papers back and you would see on your blood test all these things that where you're in the normal range and all these red aspects where you're completely out of normal range. And then you probably have a freak out session. But if you were to get your blood tested a week later, the numbers would be completely flipped around in another way. And so what happens is we all know about the placebo effect. Many people have healed cancer from taking a pill that they thought was going to help them heal from cancer. So now you're getting a blood test and you think that you're deficient in something and you can have this risk of this and this and this, and now the placebo is working against you. So there's a lot of people are doing genetic testing now to see what kind of SNPs that they have issues with, like, for example, MTHFR, where you don't methylate things properly and yada, yada, yada. And this is all messed up also. For example, if you have this type of problem, it's not even a problem. It's like there's a whole entire methylfolate pathway. It's like 8 down or something like this. I got to do a little bit more research on this. But anyways, there's something called a 1298. Most people have this thing called 1298, where you're not, okay, so your methylation processes are 20% out of whack, but you have 80% still available. And if you're homozygous, 1298, then 40% is not working, but you still have 60% left over. And what naturopathic doctors usually do is they'll give a person methylfolate at like 15 milligrams for the rest of their lives. Now, the RDA is 400 micrograms. That's 30, so they're recommending 30 times more than the necessary, that is needed to the human body for the rest of their lives. Doing that for the rest of your life, 30 times more than the RDA levels than you're supposed to be having, based off of what a naturopathic doctor told you, is gonna have some side effects in the long run. So if a person treats themselves well, then they still have 60% working. They can maybe even get away without taking any methylfolate. They can maybe just take it as a supplement when needed. But you can get away, if you're eating a cooked whole foods diet, getting sleep, doing what we're supposed to be doing, then you can be okay. There's another SNP called COMT, where women have to take some sort of drugs and stuff like this, where it's an estrogen issue. As we were talking about earlier, you can probably get away without having to take any of these drugs by removing the endocrine disruptor chemicals, the pesticides, dealing with the stress, getting sleep, all these other things. And then you can take something like SAMe as a supplement that helps with this type of SNP instead. And then you don't have to necessarily worry about it if you're eating healthy. So the whole entire aspect, when you start taking these types of tests, they recommend you could be screwed for the rest of your life based off of what a naturopathic doctor tells you to do. So the whole entire point of all this, I'm not really a big fan. I'm all about using supplements as supplements only when needed. For example, if you have that COMT issue, you could just take the supplement when you're having your period, just when it's like a little rough. You take it during that time, not every day for the rest of your life and stuff like this. Okay. Does maca work for women with no ovaries? How old are you? And what are you trying to accomplish? And I can't say maca works for anything. It's just a food that has been shown in clinical studies to help balance hot flashes and things like this. And everybody, the ACCA specials for December are now live. They're going to be announced tomorrow. We've got December's ACCA specials, the Rishi Sport products. The dates are still up. Living Libations, essential oils. 25 of Living Libations products from the last promo is still up there because we had excess. All of this stuff is at cost until the end of the month. We're off the hook here. Okay. I missed the last couple of Hangouts. Sorry, what happened with the ketogenic diet? Okay, so as many people knew, a few months ago, I attempted this test of the raw vegan ketogenic diet, and I feel it changed my life forever in terms of, I think I'm going to start functioning better and aging slower from here on out. When I feel like one of the major benefits of the ketogenic diet is not necessarily being in ketosis, which is good, but lowering carbs and sugar, refined sugar and processed starches. That alone is huge. And for me, I was drinking crazy amounts of sugar. I didn't even realize it. And I just think that, so now I pretty much don't eat much sugar. I eat strawberries and cashews. That's probably the highest glycemic thing I eat, which is not even that bad. But I'm not scared of drinking carrot juice, especially after a run or something like this. If someone offers me a raw chocolate with coconut sugar in there, I'll eat it. But generally, so what I like to tell people, I have this base of my diet that I do every single day. I switch up nut butters so I get different nutrients, but I pretty much eat the same thing every day, switching little things up like that. And this is my base. It's very little sugar. When I'm by myself, when I'm with my family, this is what I eat. If I go out and have fun, I'll eat some other things, but I fall back on this base of mine. A lot of people, what they do is they don't have a good base. When you have this good base, you can mess around with other things, but then you just fall back onto this. But most people are eating this every day, or they nibble on that every day, and refined sugars, processed starches, etc. So the key is to just like have a good base, and then you can kind of mess around with other things. So yeah, I mean, whenever I taste, okay, so I test my keto, I don't have any fat on me. I'm gonna start messing with coconut oil again, but I don't have any fat on me, so I don't easily go into ketosis. Even when I was eating a high raw vegan ketogenic diet, I don't have the fat. So many people have fat. It's easier because you are using that fuel from your fat for that. So even when I'm eating like no sugar, I don't get into ketosis easy, even though I was in it for a little bit. I don't understand what you mean, Rose. You just wrote estrogen. Okay, so, oh, I see what you're saying. Are you taking estrogen because you don't have any ovaries? Maca is not going to produce estrogen. Okay, let's look right here. Oh, we got lots of questions over here. Here we go. We're going to blow through these. Martin is back. What is new on your end? Are you still drinking tons of cucumber juice? Or have you switched to more celery juice or mixed green juices? Pretty much cucumber juice. But I do green and celery, it's just less of it. I drink copious amounts of liquid. I need lots of liquid. So this is the most palatable and less dense that I could just drink. How much? I am not going to get angry at Facebook. See, I'm doing that focus thing. Oh, look, Facebook is out. I have no anger whatsoever. Rick writes, how much of the turmeric is good to have at one time? I sprinkle your powder on my avocado. Awesome. Every day. I have read it is much better to have black pepper to help one realize all the benefits of turmeric. That's pretty cool. However, take a scoop into my morning smoothie may be easier. As you know, powder is very light and tends to fly around and it stains. This turmeric powder is extremely potent. Many people are taking curcumin supplements. Our turmeric is like 95% curcumins are in there. And then also there are many in clinical studies, they even did a test on curcumin-free turmeric where there was no curcumin in it. And there were so many other compounds in the turmeric that provided such that even did better at fighting cancer cells than the actual curcumin and inflammation in some cases. So our turmeric has all of it in there and is extracted. It's like the whole food, an extract of the entire food. And it's, again, pharmaceutical strength. It is very potent. It is the best turmeric out there. I have a lot of subcutaneous belly fat, like 30% of my body weight. My visceral belly fat is within the normal range. I think most of it is the effect of cortisol. Do you have any suggestions on food supplements I can use to burn subcutaneous belly fat? Okay. Is your visceral fat normal? How can you, if it's stress and cortisol, how could it be normal? You're saying it's normal, but how is it normal if you're saying it's excess? But anyways, what happens is when we have excess stress, excess cortisol, okay, first off, everything in moderation is good. Cortisol in moderation is good. Inflammation in moderation is good. Free radicals in moderation is good. Free radicals actually help with knocking out viruses, bacteria, and cancer cells. It's just it gets out of hand. And the same with inflammation. It helps with injuries. But the thing is, when we are stressed on an ongoing basis and it doesn't slow down, then we run into issues. Now your body's in a flight or fright state, ongoing, and your body goes into survival mode. And what happens is you have all of your vital organs like in this area where the visceral fat goes. And as one of the survival mechanisms, you build up visceral fat right here to protect and feed and protect all of your vital organs in this survival state. But your body goes to crap in the process because your main goal is just to survive now as your beauty and everything else just tumbles down into the dirt. So this is why it's critical to be working on the stress aspects. So what happens is your body does like a lockdown. It doesn't accept amino acids into the bones or into the muscles anymore because there's collagen and other things like that in there. So then you have a higher risk of osteoporosis, and also you start developing atrophy. You have a rough time climbing upstairs or getting up from the sofa because like your muscles are beginning to atrophy. And then what happens is those amino acids get locked out and then they get put into the liver instead, and they break down into many different components such as uric acid and glucose. And there's a lot of waste byproduct at the same time that your kidneys have to deal with. It could mess you up, like make you diabetic or whatever, insulin resistant. And so now you're converting, what you've done is converted the protein that belongs to your bones and your muscles, and you've turned it into glucose for fuel for your body. And then insulin will take a lot of it and store it as visceral fat to protect you from dying because you're in this survival, this fright mode. So the number one thing we can be doing is working on the stress aspect, number one. And number two, just by eliminating refined sugars and processed starches and eating a cooked whole foods diet, you kind of you have more energy to deal with stress. Now, that's the number one thing we could do. And while at the same time working on the stress, like we were talking about anger. Other things you could do is take ashwagandha. Other things you can do is drink vegetable juice, where you'll get vitamins and minerals like potassium that combats stress. Apple cider vinegar is good. We were talking about this site where we get like excess cottage cheese type on our thighs and stuff like this. This is excess fluid retention. This is usually a deficiency of potassium and too much sodium. And when you start to take potassium, it kind of lowers sodium. They work like that. And when we stress, we lose calcium, we lose B vitamins, we lose potassium like crazy, and we lose acid. So when you start taking apple cider vinegar, you bring the acid back, and then you retain some of the potassium. So then you don't run into that potassium deficiency as much. But the salads and the green juices help with potassium. Okay, so there's more to this. So nutritional yeast is really good for the B vitamins. That kind of combats the cortisol. Iodine combats the estrogen. That's something totally separate. We were just talking about estrogen earlier. So iodine kind of opposes estrogen. Seaweed is really good. It actually can remove sodium and increase potassium. So dulse, wakame, kelp, all of these things are good. There's a clinical study showing that the fiber of the seaweed actually absorbed this excess sodium and actually allowed potassium to flourish more and created a pathway for that. So seaweed is really good. There's a lot of longevity aspects with seaweed also in Japan and areas like that, where the high seaweed consumption equals very healthy people in the long run. Okay, so back to this whole entire cortisol aspect. So our beauty, our health, everything is on the line here. We've got to work on this stress aspect. Sometimes we've got to make crazy life changes. Sometimes we need to improve our diet and then just forget about the social issues, and all of a sudden all the friends that are not serving you well are just gone, and all of a sudden your health just starts to flourish. Sometimes we have to quit our job. Sometimes we just have to do something crazy, like in American Beauty or something, where he's throwing dishes against the wall and whatever. Like life. It's like you got to come out of this nonsense that's putting you in this stress state. It's almost like break into freedom. It's almost like all of these things and people have you tied down into this, like, it's almost like this matrix, like, you just got to like, and you know what you got to do. And this can all be done without making crazy changes like some people have to do. Maybe you have to move to another country. Maybe you could just do it all, but you just change the inner framework where you don't give a crap what people think. You could keep your job. You could keep doing everything you're doing, but you can change the internal structure to where you just don't, you're going to be tested. There, people are going to be yelling at you probably at certain points, but whatever. This is like huge. This is taking your beauty away. And there will be like a aversion to you. It would be like a God trying to hold you down. You just got to keep like, and then once you're through the other side of it, then these people would be like, oh, hey. But enough is enough. Come on, let's do this. Let's get over this cortisol crap. It's killing us. Enough is enough. Janelle says, Matt, are you receiving my messages? You mean like right here, right now? Are you emailing me? Are you Facebook? What? Well, I received that one, so let me know. I'm here. Okay, we got all these questions. Okay. So we talked about what to do about this belly fat. And one thing that you could do is eliminate sugar for a while and see what happens. But the main thing is the stress aspect. But also, in the presence of insulin, your body, okay, here's the other aspect I was going to talk about. When you eat sugar, you deplete potassium also, because potassium takes that sugar and turns it into glycogen, which is a stored sugar, which can be utilized later while you're sleeping while you're in between meals and stuff like this. It's like stored sugar, glycogen, and potassium is needed to make that happen. So you're losing potassium there too. Vegetable juices, green vegetable juices gives you lots of potassium. So when you stop eating sugar, you starve your body of sugar. Now your body, the insulin doesn't spike as much. But anyways, when you eat too much sugar, first off, you're losing potassium because you're storing as glycogen, but you can only store so much. And then the rest of the sugar that you eat is stored as fat. This is science. Everybody knows this. It's stored as fat. It could be visceral fat. And then when you have fat, cortisol can go into there and turn into cortisone. And then when you have a stress event, your fat tissues almost become a hormone in itself, and they can take this cortisone and convert it back into cortisol and create more fatty tissue. Cortisone is the inactive component of cortisol. When your body's trying to slow down, it will take all that excess cortisol and turn it into cortisone, and it can get stored in some of your fat tissue. And then when you start going into a stress mode, when your blood pressure rises and stuff like this, all of a sudden now your fat tissues are making cortisol. So when you starve your body of sugar, you won't be able to store the excess sugars, won't be converted into fat and be stored as fat. So the main thing is stress, and we've got to get off the refined sugars and processed starches. And a lot of the time, what happens is we are doing things that we don't even realize we're doing. For example, I've had a lot of spiritual issues, and I was doing things that aren't the most ideal. For example, 5 years ago, or not 5 years ago, it was like 7 years ago now, I got lost in greed and almost lost everything I had. And I didn't even realize consciously, I was like living in it. I was like born this way almost, not born this way, but I vibrated for so long. My parents were always worried about money. They'd always be freaking out. And I was like, I'm never gonna be that way. So 7 years ago, like I almost lost everything I had. Then I learned about the spiritual aspect, and I'm like, okay, I don't want this anymore. And I had to go through all this work to get over this greed aspect 7 years ago. And then there was other things since then that we all have to work on things. So if we're doing this, this can be causing a health issue. And we've got to be looking at ourselves and, okay. So the amount of ashwagandha that I took, because that's what I'm being asked, I think it's eighth of a teaspoon. This is really potent stuff. You only need an eighth of a teaspoon. I probably took a fourth. Half teaspoon? Are you serious? Oh, I've got to update that. The recommended dosage should only be an eighth of a teaspoon, but it's okay if you're taking higher amounts. Shatavari said an eighth. This was what it said a half. Man, if I took a half a teaspoon of that. Pfft. Okay. Lisa writes, hi Matt, I've followed you for years and listened to and read so much of your info. Still, I'm confused. The nutrition info I had always been taught was that fruits were the most natural food and the first foods that were eaten and the most cleansing. I'm not saying fruit is bad. I eat fruit. Just stating that. Let's read what else she has to say. And the most cleansing. My naturopath always recommended eating all fruit in the morning only. That's a great idea. That's what I do. So now my grandchildren are being raised this way. That's good. Lots of fruit. Fruit is really good. The main thing is to get off of refined sugars and processed starches, and don't be doing fruit juices. There have been clinical studies that actually show that fruit stops the sugar spike, not only due to the fiber, but also because of the phytonutrients. And raw veggies, that's great. Now there's so much about keto diet, and I always thought too much protein, fat was difficult on liver and kidneys. Also that our bodies are made to run on glucose for energy or fat, either one can work. Okay, so when you're in the raw vegan realm or on a cooked whole foods diet realm, Okay, let me just read the rest of this. Could you address this again for me? Also, my oldest grandchild, who eats very clean and lots of raw, showed up with horrible amino acid deficiency and some antioxidant, vitamin C, D, E, etc. But pediatrician says no gut problem. Any insight? Horrible amino acid deficiency and some antioxidant. Okay. Okay, so number one. The ketogenic, okay, first off, the ketogenic diet is really good to like reset a person who eats too much refined sugars and carbohydrates. They can come off of it and eat fruit as their sugar source, whole fruits. My recommendation is to eat fruit. Okay, first off, remember I said that we have a base and then we play around but we always fall back on this base of food. I just mentioned this 10 minutes ago. That's the key there. And in this base, my recommendation is to get to the point of eating sugar only from fruit in moderate quantities, not like 30 bananas a day or anything like that, just fruit, a good amount of fruit. It's really healthy for you. There have been clinical studies showing that it actually can, if a woman were to be eating fruit all their lives, they probably would have a lower risk of osteoporosis due to the antioxidants inside of there. Okay, so we have, that's our sugar source, fruit. Now, so this whole entire ketogenic diet realm is kind of interesting because it's completely different from what we're used to. Okay, so number one, the number one benefit of the ketogenic diet is you are eliminating processed foods. This is huge. You're eliminating refined sugars and processed starches, which causes all sorts of havoc in the human body. You start to eat clean. The issue with most people on the ketogenic diet is at first they do really well, but then they eat too much animal protein, too much fat, like butter and things like this, like too much of it. You need lots of salads and raw food if you're going to do this type of thing. So me personally, I eat fruit every day. And I sometimes drink carrot juice on occasion. And then when I'm with my friends, I'll have raw chocolate with coconut sugar or whatever. But my base is what I just told you. And I only drink carrot juice when I run. And that's just like my own thing. I'm just doing this test with low sugar. So now we're getting back into this whole entire ketogenic. The ideal way to do a ketogenic diet is eating high raw with lots of salads and stuff, not eating too much animal protein, minute quantities, and just doing some eggs and goat's milk. That's like the ideal diet from my perspective. But when you do something like this, it's very difficult because you go from a high density diet to a low density diet, meaning like if you were to eat 5 pounds of cooked food from McDonald's, that's extremely dense, and you can eat 10 pounds of raw food and lose all this weight and be extremely healthy. It's the same amount of food in terms of weight, but the density is completely different. So now when you're doing a ketogenic diet, the way I'm telling you to do it in the most healthy way possible, without overdoing animal products and stuff like this, that for most people, the energy density of that food is so little, you're going to be going through withdrawals. You have to go through an entire reconstruction of your entire metabolic composition, and it's going to take a long time. But that is like the ideal diet to reach for, from my perspective. The issue is that energy density thing. Most people aren't going to survive, so they overdo the butter, they overdo the animal products, and then they end up with issues in the long run, from what I'm thinking. I don't think it's the most ideal healthy thing to do. So ideally, what we want to be doing, so if you can't do this type of diet, then we got to look at, okay, let's eat the cooked whole food carbs, because this will give us the sustenance we need. Many people say just eat more fat, but that still might not be enough, and it might be too much fat. So this is where the baked potato, the quinoa, the millet, buckwheat, the fruit, things come into play. And then as time goes on and you adapt to this diet, then you can start maybe eliminating the baked potato and try with the animal products. But anyways, back to your thing here. So one of the concepts is too much protein and fat is difficult on the liver and kidneys. The ketogenic diet is more fat than protein, but it's in the presence of sugar when it's really a problem, is what many researchers are stating. Okay, so now that your grandchild who eats very clean and lots of raw showed up with horrible amino acid deficiency, how do you have a horrible amino acid deficiency? And some antioxidants, vitamin C, D, E, those are fat soluble, vitamin D and E are fat soluble vitamins. But pediatrician says no gut problems. Any insight? Okay, so amino acids, you can give them nut butters. Maybe give them some eggs. And if they're eating clean vitamin and eating fruit, there should be plenty of vitamin C in there. And there's no gut issues. So bile breaks down fat soluble vitamins, D, E, K. I would have to know more about what your grandchildren are eating for me to like even look at this in any other way possible. Okay. Hi, Matt. I was reading advanced glycation end products. This goes right in play with what we're just talking about, which increases inflammation, are produced when you mix protein and carbs. So if you're going to eat any carbs, are they better with oils rather than protein? No, it's the same. Okay, advanced glycation end products happen when you mix carbs, sugar mainly, with protein or lipids, fats. What happens is protein and lipids usually break down with an enzyme and then in a clean way. But when in the presence of too much sugar, the sugar can take the place of the enzyme and it goes through the process of glycation. And then it creates all these advanced glycation end products, which wreaks havoc on the system and which increases inflammation, just as Debbie writes. So what you want to, so this is another issue. When you're eating raw vegan foods, I don't think this is really that big of an issue. But when you're eating animal products and if you're doing anything on these, and the butter and what the ketogenic diet people do that are not raw vegan, you eat that with sugar, you're going to end up with crazy advanced glycation end products. However, there was a study showing that vegans had more advanced glycation end products than others. So they could be eating, or was it, no, I think it was vegans or vegetarians. It might be just from too much sugar in different aspects. And Lisa, who was talking about your grandchildren, these are just concepts and theories that I present that are out there through clinical studies. There are people, I was just reading this one other guy today, I thought it was hilarious, who actually said the exact opposite, saying that the cause of, what was it? Cause of heart disease? Anyways, was fat and not carbs. No, they're saying a high carb diet is what you should be doing. So these are just concepts out there, and I'm telling you what I resonate the most with. And I'll eat sugar, but I think it's a good idea to just eat it in moderate quantities. And again, with this whole entire energy density of food, when you become a raw vegan or vegetarian, there's less foods for people to eat, so then they overdo the fruit. If you knew how I overdo the fruit, it'd be crazy. You'd be like, whoa, what? Insane. So we have to be reasonable here and eat sugar in moderate quantities. And if we're going to eat sugar if you can't eat sugar in moderate quantities, then you've got to eat cooked whole foods because you can't handle the energy density. Or it's going to go through all the crap like I did for 10 years and overeat the sugar and probably age a little bit more than you want to. I was drinking like 100 ounces of sugar-rich vegetable carrot juice and coconut water every day. Dude, that's insane. And I was eating like sugar fruit. I did that for probably like 10 years. You realize how much that is? One reason was I couldn't handle the energy density of the food. Now I can do it. But I was just eating crazy amounts. What type of raw food diet do I need to take and clear up my gout in my whole left foot? Writes Dean. Pretty much any raw food diet will work for that. There was a guy who came, David DeLuca, I got to write him, who came to our last, let's just do it right now, who came to our last retreat. He had gout. Within 2 weeks, his gout was gone. Where are you, DeLuca? Someone here said, oh, I'll have to look at it. Oh, there he is. Okay, I have the email. I'll write him later. Okay. Okay, so so the change from your current diet, Dean, most people's diets, you don't even need to eat a raw food diet in order to clear up your gout. You could just eat a cooked whole food. You got to eliminate the refined sugars, processed starches, trans fatty acids. You have to eat a cooked whole foods diet. You can eat things like all raw food, lots of salads, eliminate refined sugars and processed starches. You can have fruit. And then that alone will do it. But you can also eat things like eggs, moderate quantities of goat's milk products. Maybe have a baked potato, but don't eat that with animal products. Eat it by itself with a salad, or brown rice, or quinoa, millet, buckwheat. Just eliminate everything but all of the things we're talking about here. And if you really want to eat animal protein, you could even do that, like the good stuff from the farm, chicken, fish, turkey, preferably. But you might, for now, want to eliminate the animal protein until the gout goes away. Yeah. Sarah writes, oh, maybe it's a different Sarah. Okay, Matt, I have been mostly high fruit, raw vegan for almost a year. Now, anytime I want to eat anything cooked, such as whole foods of chicken or steamed potatoes, I get terribly sick and fatigued. I can't think straight and feel sort of poisoned. It's not poison, you've just adapted. You know what would happen if a person went on a raw vegan, your diet, they would feel poisoned. Is this normal? And did raw vegan diet damage my ability to digest normal foods? I really would appreciate your explanation. Thank you. Also, do you think we are omnivorous? Okay. Okay. We're whatever we want to be. This isn't this type of food is food, but there's a greater food than this type of food. But anyways, when you eat like me, and you've done this for a year, mainly fruit, You've adapted, you've changed. This is what I was talking about earlier. I can't even explain it. You're changing your metabolic engine. You are transforming your engine. For example, here's a way to explain it. The microbiome, all the bacteria in your body has completely changed since you've done this 1 year ago. For example, certain gut bacteria are needed to digest fiber from vegetables. So now you've changed all of your microbiome. And what happens is your microbiome, they want you to, they kind of control you in one aspect or another, because they send messages that puts a craving for them, for you to eat. Some cravings come from your gut bacteria. It's almost like their survival depends on it. And there's that gut-brain axis thing. So when you start eating different things, you don't even have the composition to digest this chicken anymore. And if you want to go back and transform back into eating normal foods, then you're going to want to be doing it very slowly. It's almost like this. If any of us were to take a tablespoon of arsenic right now, we'd be dead. But if you were to take 1 drop, don't do this, everybody. There's a chance you might not die, but there's no guarantee. So don't have arsenic. But you'll most likely be fine with a small amount of arsenic. But then you could build up the arsenic. This is what snake hunters do. They introduce a little bit of venom, and then they don't die. Then they add more and more. They do 2 drops a week. Then soon they can do a teaspoon every day. So they've adapted to being able to handle that venom again. So if you want to start eating other foods like that, you've got to adapt slowly. You got to strategically do something like that. And you might not even want to go straight to chicken right away. That's like a big jump. You might want to start with steamed vegetables. Like maybe even just have 1 steamed carrot to start with every day. And then up it to 2 steamed carrots every day. Or steamed broccoli, or whatever you're doing. Do that for months, and then you could take it to the next level. Okay, now you can try your sweet potato. If you're are you going to try to hit the animal protein range, or are you going to try to hit the carb range? My recommendation is, since you've already adapted to where you are, I would go the animal product range, because we want the foods that build up our tissues, such as fatty acids, which are not present in carbs, and amino acids, protein. So what I would do is do steamed vegetables if you wanted, and then or just start off with just a little bit of egg. Every day. And then you can just grow from there. But you've got to do it very slowly and strategically. Or if you take a teaspoon of arsenic too fast, what's going to happen? You're going to die or have issues in the long run. So you got to do it very slowly, 1 drop every day. And then you can build up to 2 drops. There's no rush here. But what tends to happen with people is they go crazy. They're like, oh my goodness, cook food. I haven't done this forever. And they just go, blah, 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 and then they become real fat. And da, 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 da. We're dealing with a strategic health program here. We're wanting to live long term. Okay. Sammy writes, what are your thoughts on tinctures, like shaga kept in vodka to create a tincture? Thanks for all you do. Yeah, there's many different ways to process things. Tinctures work. They're good. Ali writes, they say epigenetics is the new way to treat cancer, possibly prophylaxis as well, ? Not sure, have to research this more. So epigenetics, she's been watching the keto guys. It's good. They say epigenetics is a new way to treat cancer, possibly prophylaxis as well, which simply means action to take to prevent disease, especially specified means or against a specified disease. Okay. So not sure, have to research this more. Okay, so epigenetics. Epigenetics is when you change your genetic expression without actually altering your genes. And what they're saying is when you change to a ketogenic diet, you're using different metabolic pathways in order to get fuel for energy. You're no longer using sugar, which creates excess metabolic waste, is what they're saying, and they're using fat instead. Ketones, which creates all of these signaling messages, is what they say. The question is, a lot of these clinical studies are done probably on people that ate a cooked standard American diet, and then they go on a ketogenic diet. So when you do something like that, you've eliminated processed foods. So regardless, your blood pressure, your numbers are going to improve based off of that alone. So that has to be looked at. But this, I'm a fan of low sugar, and I don't necessarily think ketosis is necessary, but it can be a beneficial thing. So they're saying epigenetics. When you so let's look at a signaling molecule, a signaling pathway. They create chemical reactions to make another thing happen, until it's completely carried out to this chemical reaction is done in the human body. When you start going on a ketogenic diet, you create different pathways, and then you start having different genetic expressions, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if we focus on our, oh man, I don't know if I want to get into this right now. This is like a huge thing that I'm thinking about for later. But okay, I'll just touch on it a little bit. When you stress or do other things that are not ideal spiritually, like stress and anger and greed, these are all they're all just different vibrations of the same thing. We're always talking about it creates excess cortisol, which causes damage to the human body. Also, many clinical studies show that our behavior, our stress, our depression impacts the species of our gut microbiome. So if you're stressing on an ongoing basis, the habitat of your internal structure is different than if you didn't stress. So basically, to change your genetic expression, if you want, okay, we're talking, this is epigenetics here. We're going deeper than epigenetics. Epigenetics is doing physical aspects to change your genetic expression. So you use different metabolic pathways to have a different expression of your genes. Now we're talking about changing our freaking genes. Through changing the way we think, the way we vibrate, the way we do things like this, the way we stress like crazy, the way we worry, the way we think about sex, the way we think about greed, the way we think about money, the way we get jealous, all of these different things. If you can stop that, you just cut out cortisol, you change your entire microbiome bacteria system, and you change your DNA. You are restructuring your gene, you are changing your DNA. You are going deep into your structure here and actually applying every last ounce of your life force and soul and ability to be a better person, to not vibrate and we're working our butts off. This is like this right here is the #1 thing you can do for longevity. And this changes not your genetic expression, it changes your DNA. And you get excited to do this right now, but you have to endure and keep going. It's almost like it's not an overnight thing. It's like, this is it. Let's make a change. You do this, you are cleaning out your system of bad bacteria. You're cleaning your system out of cortisol. There's studies that squirrels, they put them through stress. All of a sudden, their microbiomes get totally messed up. How does that happen? So it's almost like you have to push in order to do this, and then everything starts to change. Lisa says, also the pediatrician had vitamins and amino acid compounds just for him in very high dosages. Vitamins and amino acid compounds. Okay, let me explain what the doctors do. What the doctors do is they test for blood. The way they diagnose is they test your blood. And when they test your blood, they go, this is all they have. They test your blood. And then they go, okay, you're low on testosterone. Let's give you testosterone. When actually the problem with your testosterone is you're drinking too much alcohol and eating too much sugar. And so what happens is you're converting through aromatization, this aromatase enzyme, you're converting testosterone to estrogen. And the cause of this is why people who drink too much alcohol get man boobs, they get the big belly, they have too much estrogen, they get whiny and crying, they start losing their libido, they can't have erections as well, they become miserable, they're crying like a chick. Sorry, that wasn't called for. Anyways, so what happens is, so the doctors see in the blood test low testosterone. Let's give them more testosterone. So what happens? They get more testosterone, they continue to drink the alcohol, continue to refine sugar, continue to go to McDonald's, and then they convert the excess testosterone even into more estrogen, causing more man boobs, causing even more weight gain, causing even more crying. This is what doctors are doing. Other examples are, for example, your liver. They can't even, you could do all the tests you want, but it's not, and the adrenals, it's not detected until they're 10% gone through blood tests. I mean, 10%, 90% gone. 10% of your liver will still, you can still function with 10% of your liver. Potassium levels, you can't even test that in your blood because most of it's in the cell. So this is basically what doctors are doing. And now, so the pediatrician has vitamins and amino acids compounded just for him in very high doses, and said after testing kidneys and things that he would need this because he just has high needs. High needs of what? High needs of what? Nikki, you can Skype me, or not Skype me, Facebook me, and we can talk. Angeline writes, thank you for the keto answer. I need to put together a good base. I have fat. The diet is supposed to be high fat anyways, right? Did you launch the Raw Vegan Keto Facebook? Yeah, that was us. Okay. You have to beware though, if you're gonna do crazy amounts of fat. Me personally, I'm not doing crazy amounts of fat. I'm just eating low sugar. I mean, I'm doing a lot of fat, but not like crazy amounts of fat. The energy density of my food is way lower because I'm on a raw vegan diet. I adapted to this. I don't need that much food. But a lot of these guys on the ketogenic diet are eating crazy amounts of fat, and most people aren't adapted like I am. So you have to eat crazy amounts of fat in order to succeed on this. If you eat sugar with butter and all these other things, that's just a disaster. So it's better to like just eliminate, do a whole cooked whole foods diet if necessary, unless you can control yourself. I recommend the ketogenic diet for just a few months for people to reset themselves, and then they can start eating fruit as their sugar source and do less fat and like just balance out with high raw. That's my recommendation. With the eggs. And try to just do one animal product meal per day is ideal. But if you have to do 2 in the beginning, that's fine too. Jeff writes, hi Matt, I love your company. I place multiple orders a month. Thanks, Jeff. Any ETA on when you guys will have free shipping on your website would be nice. We do free shipping a couple of times a year. It's difficult for us because we offer, and we do these at-cost specials, we offer a coupon code right now because of this website glitch through Thursday. I created a coupon called Raw Food 10. It's 10% off. This, if you're ordering $100 worth, that takes care of the shipping and more, or $200. The more you order, so the coupon code, especially this one that's good through Thursday, Raw Food 10 for 10% off. This takes care of the shipping. But we will have more free shipping. It's just, we can't do it that often. We just gotta, we're still like we're getting through this thing, this hump thing that I'm talking about. Once we're through it, we're gonna be able to do some more crazy stuff. We've got lots of loans and we lost some lawsuits I talked about, audits, all sorts of stuff. And we're just, from 7 years ago, when I did some things that I shouldn't have before I began on my spiritual path, I'm making up for all the mistakes I made in the past right now. And then, but we're at the tail end here. It's just a matter of time for my sake. I shouldn't even be probably talking about this, but anyways, I appreciate everybody's support. It keeps us going, and we're about to just like skyrocket to make this like a worldwide corporation is what I see in the near future. Okay. Appreciation on the discussion on the strength of turmeric, because it is extracted high potency and expensive. Is an 1/8, 1/4, or 1/2 teaspoon a day good dose? Same question for your ashwagandha. 1/8 of a teaspoon is always good for any of our herbs because they're very potent. Then you could build up if you want. You can do 1/4 of a teaspoon. And if you really want to have fun, you can just experiment every once in a while with 1/2 of a teaspoon. But it might be too much. I saw someone take 1/2 of a teaspoon and they were flying all day long. It's like it's almost like drinking coffee. So 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1/4 of a teaspoon is good. What do you think about eating 2 avocados a day? It's fine. How big is the avocados? Matt, did you ever try eating high fruit raw vegan diet? Yes. If so, how did it make you feel? Like crap. I probably aged. This is why I probably have all these wrinkles and I'm starting to get gray hair, and my hair probably thinned out a little bit more because of all the sugar I ate. Okay. You believe one can eat unlimited quantities of fruit, meaning well above their daily calorie needs, and just keep losing weight? In the beginning, but once you balance out and adapt, you've got to be responsible with what you're eating, or you're gonna run into issues like I did. Aging faster. In the beginning, we're almost coming to an end here. In the beginning, you become younger. Even if you eat crazy amounts of fruit in the beginning, because you went from the energy density of the crap diet that is so damaging to the human body to eating like water with sugar, but you were eating Coke before. So this is nothing. It's actually healthy. So then you go through this transition, which could take years, and then you balance out to where you've lost all your weight. The cravings are gone. You've eliminated all the withdrawals. It's like a person who smokes cigarettes. It takes a while to detox all that. And then once they've detoxed it, the healing's happened. And then it's like if you had 20 cigarettes a day and you went down to 1 cigarette a day, that 1 cigarette is going to be like healthy for you. And then you finally, you go through withdrawals of all these 19 cigarettes per day. Now you're at this 1 cigarette every day again, and you've adapted to it. And now you've been doing this for a year, just doing 1 cigarette a day. But now it's not the healthiest thing. And your body's like, okay, you've got to stop this. It's not ideal. So now you got to let go of the 1 cigarette. So now you can eat all the fruit and any raw food you want in the beginning to lose the crazy amounts of weight. But then when you finally adapt, we got to balance out here, or the aging process is going to happen faster. And maybe you want to do a cooked whole foods diet. Okay. Would eating cooked foods make you feel sick now? Yes. I mean, I've tried it, but I'm pretty certain. Do you think it's healthier to eat a diet of potatoes and other cooked starches, or raw diet with animal products such as dairy? A raw diet with animal products such as dairy, I recommend. Mention that you tried goat's dairy. I tried that a while ago, but I've adapted so much to this thing that it messed me up. I was like 10 years ago, was at a farm and had some goat's cheese to see what would happen. It gave me a runny nose. Many claim that milk is not human food. I really would appreciate your thoughts. Yes, the carbs are secondary to that's what I would recommend if you can handle it. But if you can't handle it and you're going to eat crazy amounts of animal products such as eggs and dairy, then you need the carbs because you can't control yourself because of the energy density different. Do Araya and Angela eat low sugar diets? Angela likes to. Is it as important for children to eat low glycemic if they aren't eating processed foods? Not necessarily, but you want to make sure. For example, Araya, she eats eggs. So we're covering her grounds by doing that. She eats raw vegan and then eggs, that's it. So I wouldn't want my child only on sugar. I'd want avocado in there. The eggs are like critical for my children, from my standpoint. They're growing. They need more than other people. Their brain development, body development. We're grown already. She's not even half my size. Her bones have to grow. Baseball size avocados. How big is the pit? During this talk, I'm eating from my order. So far, Peruvian olives are amazing. I know they're amazing. Now dipping the spirulina crust into super maki camu sprouted almond spread. If I do not stop now, I'll eat the whole jar. Just wanted to vouch for these products to everyone. Oh, and what is glycation and their end products you mentioned? Just looked on Wiki, but I don't get it. Sugar creates the breakdown of lipids, fats, and protein, and it creates advanced glycation end products, which are not ideal for the human body, which can cause aging, AGEs. But it's mainly, so take that for what it's worth. If you could only eat 1 superfood powder, what would it be? You mean that's all I could eat, or could I eat other things too? Reishi-spore tryptophan crystals for immune system. Like, what are the restrictions here? Camu powder is really good. Those would probably be the 2. What other superfood powders would I find as a must? Pine pollen's good. Wheatgrass, green food powders. I drink and eat all grass-fed milk, eggs, butter, cheese. What do you think of only grass dairy? I think that's great, but how much of it are you eating every day? Does your breath smell? Do you smell because like some people just because of this energy density thing. They load up like crazy on these things, and it's too much. What age do you start the eggs, and when during the day does Araya eat them? Usually in the afternoon, like 3, 4, 4:30, 4 o'clock, when they're done breastfeeding. Or sooner. Okay, I'm gonna come back to Facebook. What do you think of matcha powder? It's better than, like, it's probably a good stimulation thing. Lesser of the two evils. Hi, Matt. I've noticed you said something about legumes not being a good food. Oh, that was a while ago. Wondering why. Norman Walker said it. I'm eating a lot of cashews. I don't necessarily believe it. Like maybe peanuts that are not wild jungle wouldn't be good. Is peanut butter okay over almond butter? It's high in fat. The ketogenic diet people really like it. The question is, why would you not do raw eggs? This isn't the Facebook stock, so I'm going to come back to that question in a second. But why would we not do raw eggs? This isn't a religion, raw foods. It's like, what is healthier for my child? Raw eggs or cooked eggs? It's like, I don't eat raw because of this concept of raw. I have gelatinized maca powder. That's not raw. And it's less, I have less of an adverse reaction on the gelatinized maca than the coconut chips that I have sitting in the dehydrator right now, because they're more dense and those are raw. But it's not about raw. But anyways, there's a woman who just wrote down earlier in the comments about why raw eggs aren't good. So you could look at that. It just doesn't feel right. Okay, so legumes. Okay, so the keto guys are into the peanut butter, but not the almond butter. I mean, and almond butter. But a lot of if you're doing wild jungle peanut butter, that's the best. I actually made some in my stone grinder. I just noticed that I have toe fungus. What do I do about this? I've been eating raw fruit, vegan, for about 9 months, but I do cheat sometimes, and with mostly pizza or chips and dip, laugh out loud. But, oh wait. I'm gonna come back to that, because if I hit that, it's a long message. It will go over the other messages. What do you think about taking a lot of vitamin C, either absorbic acid or absorbic acid combined with more food-based vitamin C? The best vitamin C on the planet is our camu powder. I would not eat any other vitamin C but from regular foods and our camu powder. Most of the camu powder on the market, the ones that taste like pixie sticks and taste like sugar, is 85% maltodextrin. Sometimes they don't even put it on the bag. They spray that onto maltodextrin, and when you do that, many superfoods and so there was a whey company who sprayed their whey onto maltodextrin to dry it as a drying medium, and it tested at 85% maltodextrin. So camu powder, 85% maltodextrin, and that goes right into glucose, spikes insulin. It's not what you want to be eating. So our camu powder is 100% food. And I saw on a video, I showed the vitamin C content. It's insane. It's the highest vitamin C content around. And it's the full complex of vitamin C. It has the compound, the copper compound, tyrosinase. That is incredibly important for collagen, producing collagen. And if you're eating absorbic acid and these other vitamin C things, you're not going to be getting that. So that's what I recommend for the camu powder. Our camu powder. Someone liked my man boobs thing. Can you elaborate on the San Pedro plant medicine ceremony? Thanks. My phone is about to die on this, and it's already 10:10. We've gone way beyond. Yeah, we're going to end on that question. Facebook might tune out. If you get out, you could go to news.therawfoodworld.com/live. Let's read the rest of this question real quick. Oops. Okay. But no meat as of last 3 months. I look forward to you live. Okay, so this is the one who says she has toe fungus. She tries to eat raw with fruit, vegan for 9 months, but she cheats and eats pizza, chips, and dips, but she hasn't eaten any meat. It would be better if you eliminated the pizza and the chips and ate the meat. So you think you're doing yourself a service by not eating meat, but that's actually less damaging to the human body than the pizza and the chips and the dip. And when you start playing with like eating healthy, really healthy, and then going back and then eating healthy, you can cause all sorts of issues. You might want to put dragon's blood. Keep your toes dry. Take a blow dryer and dry your toes on an ongoing basis. Martin Tornberg on news.therawfoodworld.com/live gave a summary of why he liked tonight's talk. He gave like a summary of all the things we talked about. Someone just put a recipe at news.therawfoodworld.com/live. These are where people are answering questions. Okay, so now we're gonna do this last question. Can you elaborate on the San Pedro plant medicine ceremony things that we do at the Raw Food Retreats? Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Thanks, Matt, for the great hangout. Yeah, that was awesome. We went through a lot of stuff here tonight. Go to news.therawfoodworld.com/live. Read what Martin Tornberg wrote about all the summaries of everything we talked about. And the final question is about this retreat. December 20th, around there, is the start of our next retreat. We've already got 33 people. There's space for probably another 10 people, depending if it's couples or not, 5 to 10 people. It's gonna sell out, I'm absolutely sure. And we do something, a very powerful San Pedro journey. It's not mandatory, but it's an optional aspect. And the way we do it is, first off, you've got to be very careful when you're choosing a shaman and different things like this, because there's a lot of different stories out there. But regardless of all of that, what we have here is we've created the perfect situation for where there's incredible amounts of protection for a San Pedro ceremony. It's almost like you are treated, it's almost like there's so much protection and care and everything put into this. It's almost like you're being watched over like a baby in some sort of level. It's almost like you're going into it as a innocent child, protected child. And it's like, there's also, not everybody gets to do it because you have to be approved to do it. At the last retreat, I think it was 16 of the 18 people that wanted to do it got to do it. So most people end up doing it who want to do it. And as you probably saw in the Hangouts where we had the retreat guests, which we're probably gonna do at all the future retreats, we're doing 4 retreats a year, share their experiences. They have all had profound experiences. We have so many returns to the next couple of retreats from previous people. It's unbelievable, like we've never seen before. What is provided is we're always talking about this cortisol aspect, lowering stress, taking over, fighting for this aspect. We were talking about changing our gut microbiome. Stress affects our gut microbiome. Stress affects so many different levels in our bodies. And stress, even greed does it. Lust, all of these different things. And as I was stating earlier, 7 years ago, when I was lost in greed and almost lost everything I had, I told you when I was born into my parents worried about money. They'd be screaming and yelling. So I vowed to never have to worry about money, and I got lost in greed. It was almost like I didn't even realize that I was in greed because that's what I was vibrating for so long. And then I almost lost everything I had as a warning. And then I chose a spiritual path and I got saved from losing everything. But regardless, the point of all this is, during this San Pedro ceremony, you have the potential to have revealed to you things like I have had revealed to me, such as me being in greed and I didn't even realize it, or doing things that aren't necessarily serving us. It is actually like, it has the potential to be brought right in front of you, and major transformation and change can take place. Just waiting for Facebook to tune back in. And this isn't mandatory. You can do this without San Pedro. It just heightens everything to where you see more. And you have guidance that is impeccable, that is not available anywhere in the world, in a safe environment, to where there are most people running San Pedro ceremonies out there can actually do the opposite effect of what we're providing here at our retreats. So the possibilities are endless, and even just people who come to these retreats who didn't even do the San Pedro, many things have been revealed to them also because of the settings here. You provide the body with the ideal nourishment. The energy bubble here, it's a vortex here in Vilcabamba, Ecuador. It's almost like our land is like centered right in the midst of it on some sort of level. And it is more powerful, this vortex here in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, compared to all the vortexes in Arizona, all of them combined here. And on top of that, you're eating raw vegan foods, drinking incredible amounts of Norwalk juices, as we were talking about earlier. The combinations are heightened based off of research done to improve cleansing of the liver and all these different things. You're getting more nutrition than you've ever had in your entire life because of the mineral-rich soils here. Seriously, just by coming here, we have people coming who are saying they're coming once a year. Even just coming once, you are resetting so much on a physical and spiritual level to where it can change the outcome of your life in the long run with longevity, dependency on pharmaceutical drugs, etc., etc. So, with that being said, the last question, any tips on acne? Number one, this is the last question. Number one is do not take Accutane. That is like the pharmaceutical drug that they give people for their acne. And studies have shown recently that it causes apoptosis, which is killing of cells inside important areas of your brain. I even think it said hippocampus. I'm not 100% sure about that, which is like your memory center. So in the long run, they're giving kids like this, like it's candy. And this is not what we want to be doing. What it is vitamin A, carrot juice can actually help with this because it has vitamin A. It's an incredible toxic amount of vitamin A that they're giving you in that type of thing. Also, refined sugar and processed starches in clinical studies, high carbs, have been, and trans fatty acids, you can add to that, but it's not really in the study, have been linked to PCOS and acne. So when you eliminate refined sugars and processed starches, clinical studies have even shown that people's acne have gone away. So you want to be eating a cooked whole foods diet, eliminating carbs as much as possible, refined sugars and processed starches. So that's bread, goodbye. Sugar, goodbye. Refined sugar. Soda, goodbye. So you've got to seriously make some serious changes to fix this acne thing. All right, guys. Let's see how many viewers we saw. We still got a good amount of people that stayed through the haul of it all. Thanks for tuning in. Matt Monarch here, rocking the house. Come join us at the December retreats. I'm excited for you to come in. December retreat in December 20th or so. There's still spots left. Come join us. We're going to be in this kitchen doing a peeling nut demo. It's going to be incredible. Right now, the December at cost specials are available on our website. It's going to be announced tomorrow. The biggest selection of at cost specials all year long. Raw Food 10 is a coupon code that works until Thursday. Then it's coming down. And then, boom. Living Libations products. We've got essential oils and 25 of their products on the at cost page. The dates are still at cost. That's coming down at the beginning of the month. And so much more. So thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next Tuesday right here. And hopefully I'll see you at the December retreat.